Hello everyone and welcome to this stream. It's just going to be a short one, just dipping into the TCEC this evening, seeing what's going on, in between watching the France-Switzerland match, which has also been quite entertaining. Well, this is Leela against Stoofvlees. Very nice game from Leela, looking incredibly convincing, until Leela spent something like 14 minutes wondering whether to capture a bishop on g7 in a completely winning position, which got me a little nervous, certainly. But anyway, it's all seems to be clear now. So I think we're going to see the end of this game very, very quickly. And then afterwards, we are going to well, take a look at the next game right from the start. And the next game is going to be, let's have a look. It's going to be schedule. I knew it before. It's going to be Stoofvlees against AllieStein, which should be quite a nice little game there. So let's go back and this is not quite working for me. I thought I had it beautifully set up. I think I have to go for separate browsers there. But mate in 3 coming up on the board. Leela's only got 7 minutes to think, so hopefully won't think too long. I'm not quite sure why it's mate in 3. Mate in 1 might be slightly more accurate. You never know. But anyway, I think we'll hopefully see the end of this game quite soon, and then move on to the next one. I think it's been done indeed. So just my my site, the web page always seems to take a little while to refresh there, but should all be very good. And well, somebody bet I think it was something like 100,000 troll bits on a Leela win, which I thought was very optimistic, really. I mean, it was just an advanced Caracan, really. I can just show you the opening. An advanced Caracan, which is definitely better for white. I mean, there was quite a famous game, Caruana against Lamy from Vaikanze, which was, you know, very, very strong. But still, you know, I mean, you sort of felt it might be defensible. But this was, yeah, a very good game from Leela. Okay, so this is a very interesting, very interesting opening here. So the Alekhine Defence, and white's actually played probably the strongest line here, just defending the pawn on d4 with the bishop on e3, not playing knight f3, so avoiding a pin by the bishop on g4. And this rook on c1 is going to enable white to play b3, covers c4, also covers any pressure along the g7 a1 diagonal. So it's a real way of just absorbing all black's play. And then what is black left with? Black's left with a bit less space and some difficulties in creating counterplay. So Stoofvlees against AllieStein. I think I'm going to go in for to predict something. I've had a few good bets, also a few heartbreakers. I think I'm going to go for, nobody's going for the win there, really. 6.3. Who voted on the oh well, there we are. Computerschach. I think I'm going to go reasonably hard in 5,000. There we go. In we go. Vote on the win, and then we'll see how that goes. So okay, this is the position here, and Stoofvlees is thinking for white. Now, what possibilities are there here for white? Let's just switch to the analysis board, which I can now do. Look at that. Beautiful, beautiful how smoothly that goes now. And I've got to still learn, though, that control, though, to get it smoothly in. So e4, knight f6, e5, knight d5, d4, d6. Takes, knight c3, bishop e3, bishop g7, rook c1, knight c6. Now, I don't know this opening very well at all. I mean, I would expect one of two moves from white. We could play the move d4 to d5, Or we could play the move b2 to b3. Now, I quite like b3 in some way. It's always like staying nice and flexible in the centre. And the idea is that if black goes d5 in this position, then we play c5. And there's no knight c4, which is a key move for white. I suppose what you might consider after b3 is something like e5. And then, yeah, we've got to have a little look with white. I mean, if you go d5, then black could play knight d4, or black could also play knight e7, and then come round to f5. That's possible. I mean, even stuff like d takes e5 looks vaguely interesting sometimes. You know, because if you go something like d takes e5, queen takes d8, you don't really want to play king d8. That feels a bit risky. And knight d8 also, you know, feels a little bit loose after something like knight b5. So there are all sorts of possibilities. I mean, black could castle, but then you could go d5 again. That's quite a natural move. And then the knight, you know, well, you've already protected c4 against the knight. You know, that's the difference. If you go d5 immediately, then obviously black doesn't get the c5 stuff in. So knight a5 will just go b3, and I mean, these two knights are quite poor. The big problem for black is that if you go knight d7, then I go b4. So you kind of need to keep the two knights like this. So I don't think knight a5 is really the move you want. Knight e5 seems much more natural. And now you've got to decide what you want to do. I mean, in actual fact, knight takes c4 is not yet a threat. So, for example, if I was to go h3, then knight takes c4, bishop c4, knight c4, queen a4 check picks up the knight. So, I mean, I could play b3, but I could play also a move like, for example, bishop e2. And what's the point of a move like bishop e2? Well, if I go b3, then I don't know. Is a move like knight g4 possible, just to annoy? Maybe it's not so much. I mean, probably bishop d4 is quite a sensible little move there. You know, it's so possibly not even necessary to do that subtlety. But you could just go bishop e2, and after castles, then you go b3, and yeah, you know, just a nice position for white really, and just a little bit difficult for black to develop. I mean, if you go bishop d7. Then you can play f4, trapping the knight. If you go a move like bishop f5, I could even play g4 here. And, well, you've got to go back to c8 because bishop d7, f4 will still win. You could view it as a provocative move, you know, forcing the weakness there. But I don't know. I'm not 100% sure. Somehow these big kingside expansions, they often turn out to be quite pleasant for white. I mean, knight ed7, knight f3 also is, you know, pretty pleasant for white, really. You know, it's a big space advantage, and it really isn't clear how, you know, how black is getting free. I mean, you have to do something like, you know, knight f6, and maybe try and go e6 and break stuff up. Yeah, possible, but I do like white in principle in these positions. This knight on b6 is poorly placed. You know, it just feels like white really should have you know, a number of ways to be much better. So let's have a look. Has Stoofvlees moved yet? Maybe Stoofvlees has moved. Oh, I can see what's happening with this. So d5, knight e5. Okay. This is I need to stop to change my my engine commands because none, I think, will do it, because every time I do this, I'm just every time I switch my screen, I'm using the function keys, and it's kind of starting up an engine, which is maybe not so bad, but not really that useful either. Okay, so let's have a look at what Stoofvlees and AllieStein have done. So knight e5, Stoofvlees went b3 straight away, didn't bother. Castles, and now thinking about playing the move bishop e2, which, well, will just transpose to what we were expecting there. So what is... oh, let's have a look. What's the current prediction status? Whoa, there's a lot of money in the pool there. Viren 6 and AllieStein. Ooh, okay. No, Mr. BZ has not yet really gone for it. Let me just... is it worth... Oh, I'll just put 1,000 more just for the sheer hell of it. There we are. So, Stoofvlees, I need you. Let's see how that goes. So, what sort of plans could we have here? Let's have a little look. So we've had knight e5. Oh, good lord. Sorry, I'm clicking on the wrong place there. Knight e5. I've got to get used to that. Knight e5. Promote variation. b3. Just to promote that variation. And then castles. So b3, castles, replace move. And here, Stoofvlees is thinking. I mean, I think there's two, reasonable moves. I mean, h3 is one move to stop. I mean, in both cases, you want to stop knight g4, so that if black goes bishop d7, then you go f4, winning a piece. I mean, that's the basic idea. In principle, you feel that bishop e2 is the best move, because bishop e2 stops knight g4 and also prepares to develop the knight to f3. So, that does feel a lot better there. I mean, Allie could play h5, in order to get knight g4, but then we go h3. And we only play h5 in response to h3, and, then we haven't, that's meeting a pawn move with a pawn move. And bishop e2 is of course, a developing move. So, yeah, I mean, I suppose if you're looking for rapid counterplay, I could suggest... well, I could really only suggest the move e6 if you're being sensible. In terms of silly ideas, I mean, f5 is a move that comes into maybe your nightmares rather than your dreams. A bit hard to do anything, and once the pawn is moved to f5 and then to f4, doesn't really give that many chances for a kingside attack. I mean, a5 would be another idea, to try and play a4, get counterplay, but again, I think you're really unlikely to get to really be able to develop much counterplay. You've got stuff like now, for example, the knight on b6 is loose, which interferes with your counterplay as well. So really the most sensible thing would be to go for a plan with e6. And then the question becomes a little bit, do we need to redeploy this knight on e5 maybe to f6 first before we can play e6, or can we take the plunge and go e6 straight away? If we can, then that would be nice, but it's not clear at all that it's possible. So let's have a look at what happened there. So bishop e2 and now rook e8. Okay, so I guess that that Allie is looking somehow to get in e6 without first redeploying that knight on e5. And what's the key problem? The key problem always that Black's got to think about is that after e6, for example, bishop e2, after a move like e6, I mean f4 does become possible. This check is nothing. I just go g3. And if you go knight d7, then I can just take on e6 and then take on d6. And I mean, white feels a little bit loose, but on the other hand, you're a clear pawn up. This pawn structure is absolutely beautiful to restrict this knight on b6. So this is potentially just probably potentially just a win for white. It's really that good. So Allie plays rook e8, and this move rook e8, it's kind of directed against these f4 ideas. So for example, I'm not quite sure if I said if I played h3, for example, you could consider ideas like well, actually, if you go h3, of course you've got a queen h4 check, which is particularly unpleasant because bishop f2 allows queen f4. So h3 wasn't really a great move to play. I mean, maybe say something like a4, for example, and e6, and then if f4, you can start thinking about playing moves like e takes d5, and then you can take, if fe, you can take with the rook on e5 and get counterplay. I'm not saying that this is exactly the way of doing it, but this is the sort of stuff you're thinking about. So yeah, White has to decide, quite how he's going to do this, actually, Stoofvlees playing the move knight f3. So just developing now. You're going to exchange off that knight on e5. And then you're just going to say, well, Black's wasted all that time with this knight, so he's going to spend 1, 2, and then maybe 3 moves to exchange off my knight on g1 that hasn't moved at all. And then Black's got this other poorly placed knight on b6, which will have to move again. It's the standard thing that we're getting in all these positions at the TCEC at the moment. We're getting positions in which White has got a clear space advantage, and basically a couple of extra moves development, just because Black's got a knight in a place that has to be, it shouldn't be, and has to be moved later. So and this is proving to be actually a very, very, very dangerous combination of advantages, because it's leading to win after win after win. So yeah, pretty interesting. Now let's have a look. Sometimes my display here doesn't change at all. So knight takes e5. So bishop takes e5 is going to be played. And then afterwards, somehow it's not looking so frightening for Black. Well, not frightening. I wouldn't want to play it at all as Black, but maybe it's not so terrible for an engine to play. What do I mean by that? Well, we're going to get so knight f3. Let me just put you over. So knight f3, e6. We're going to take, and now Allie was thinking. Stoofvlees was thinking about just going castles. And then, yeah, you're looking at a line like e takes d5, knight takes d5, and then maybe knight takes d5, queen takes d5. And what is this position? It's pleasant for White, right? Queen's attacking the pawn on b7, which is a little bit annoying. You can't play, rook b8, because there might be something like bishop a7. A little bit unclear, actually, because you could go rook a8 and then take on a2 afterwards, and there's also even at some stage bishop takes h2 check ideas. We've got these weak queenside pawns here, and then we've also got this d6 pawn that's quite weak. And if White can just line up on it and then play f4 in order to move away this bishop from e5, then you're talking about the win of a pawn. I think the only thing about it though is that winning a central pawn, it's always you're always going to get counterplay, and of course just if you look at let's just do this move here far too early. Instead of here, if we go, let's just say rook b8, f4, then after bishop g7, then these two bishops are weak on there. So you weaken yourself like that. It's there's always going to be counterplay. So it's always going to be a nice advantage for White, but it's never going to be quite as simple as you think to really convert it into something big. And certainly, I think human players find these sort of positions quite difficult, because it's a thankless task. In principle, you're only going to try and hold a draw, and you're going to have to be eternally vigilant about this d6 pawn. So these are not pleasant positions to play for a human. But for an engine, completely conceivable, really. So what did we get there? We got, that's quite a nice little move there. So knight takes e5, bishop e5, and bishop f3. So probably Stoofvlees wants to capture on d5 with a bishop rather than with a queen, which is very, very sensible, of course. You know, you can capture with a bishop on d5, then you can put your queen on d2, for example. You know, line up. That's quite nice. The only thing that you know, you might interest black, or certainly if you're a human player, is you're thinking about, oh, could I get some counterplay against the king side whilst you know, white is doing his nice stuff with getting a bishop on d5, for example. So after bishop f3, I mean, you could claim. I mean, the first thing that I would look at would be e takes d5, knight takes d5, knight takes d5, bishop takes d5, and then queen h4. You know, that's the most natural. Just note that queen a5 check is easily met by queen d2, you know, covering a2 and offering the exchange of queens, which this will be very nice for white. You know, I mean, this is definitely looking very good. Going to be a little bit tricky to yeah, deal with the queenside pawns, and white can expand both on the king side and on the queen side. Should be a very nice ending indeed. So queen h4 would be my my initial move. Of course, castles allows queen h2 mate, and vaguely, you know, I've got some ideas that if this bishop moves away from e5, then we've got rook takes e3 check. You know, and the queen is pinning the pawn to the king on e1. So, you know, that's sort of getting me interested somehow. Then we have to sort of find a way for white to play here, which is not as 100% obvious as you might think. I can play g3, but then we go queen h3, you know, which is well, I mean, annoying. It's stopping white from castling there. I could also I could try queen f3. I'm attacking f7 there, which is quite nice, of course. Yeah, I don't know. Queen f7 is a bit of an annoying threat. We could go bishop e6. It feels kind of you know, it feels like a Stoofvlees attack, really. You know, if bishop b7, then I'm vaguely thinking about going something like bishop g4 maybe, which might have some danger to it. You know, you can't. You know, the queen goes round to d5, and then I'm really thinking of something. You know, like, I don't know, bishop g3. You know, hg allows queen h1, and I'm threatening rook takes e3. You know, something like that, or maybe, you know, I don't know. Maybe I could even. No, I was going to suggest bishop f4. With the idea of, and then if g3, you go bishop g3. But actually, this queen is now defending the rook, so I could actually just play hg then. But I mean, there's a lot of possibilities there. So queen f3, bishop g6. Yeah, I mean, g3, queen h3, queen f3 is maybe possible. Bishop e6. I mean, we've already put the queen on h4 basically. I mean, on h3 rather. That's the idea. But it's still, you know, feels vaguely dangerous. I mean, if I go bishop b7, I've won a pawn, which is pretty good, of course. But you know, it's not 100% clear to me that that there's no counterplay at all for white. You know, I suppose I could go queen g2 there, add variation, queen h5, maybe h3. Yeah, actually, queen g2 is probably quite good, isn't it? Because I'm threatening the guy on a8 there, so that would be quite annoying. But pardon me. But if I went after bishop b7, if I just go rook d8, yeah, I don't know. Do I have any counterplay here? Maybe in human terms I do. Maybe in engine terms not at all. It's possible. So I mean, you know, part of me is also thinking that you know, just imagine I went queen g2, queen h5, castles, bishop h3. Way, I'm winning the exchange. You know, this is really the type of exchange sack that that the engines are just making automatically and then claiming a win for white. just with the very solid structure, 2 bishops, pawn compensation, and a whole row of queenside pawns and a weakie on a7 to aim at. So yeah, I mean it's probably you know, feels like a good human blitz thing, but you know, not much more than that probably. Well, I've only been playing bullet during the lockdown, so that's probably influencing my play just a little bit. So let's see, get a little refresh there. Oh wow, bishop takes d5. I had not thought of that at all. Bishop takes d5. Wow, wow. E takes d5, bishop takes d5. Yeah. Giving up the bishop pair. My goodness me. It's that surprises me. But yeah, the knight is very good. I mean, yeah, the knight is very good. Maybe the knight's so strong then. That's the argumentation that the black is going to have to go, you know, bishop e6 takes d5 anyway. But I did quite fancy having a bishop on d5 to be honest, even more than a knight on d5. So that's a very interesting move. So I'm guessing knight takes d5. You know, I mean that's more or less a given. And then black's going to yeah, going to have to try and find a plan here. Yeah, I mean, the obvious way always is to try and fight for the d5 square, right? So, I mean, you know, you go bishop e6, and then you go queen a5 or something, and then try and take on d5 and make white take back with a pawn. You know, that's the basic idea. And the question is whether you can get away with that, you know, or whether white has something sneaky. I'm sort of wondering, actually. Let's have a look. Bishop e6, I'm assuming castles. And then queen a5. What have we got? I mean, we've got the possibility of going b4, with the idea that if the queen is no longer protecting c7, then we've got knight c7. Oops, good lord, not that. But I mean, we could go queen d8 here, and just claim that actually by playing b4, white's weaken this c4 pawn, so that's going to make the queen side a bit more of a target, especially with this bishop on e6, you know, pointing towards it. I mean, you could also just say I'm just going to go queen a2, and if knight c7, then I'm just going to go bishop c4, which again, I need to find a convincing reason why that's not actually possible. So yeah, this is interesting. You've got to be, I mean, white's really got a castle kingside, I think, because, I mean, I was wondering about something like queen d2, you know, to stop queen a5. And then you just say, well, if I have a tempo loss, I take it for, you know, I sort of take it. But, I mean, you've even got something like bishop d5, and if queen d5, then there's bishop f4, you know, something like that. And you'll give white a weak pawn on e3 to compensate for the weak pawn on d6. So, you know, it doesn't feel very, brilliant for white, this, just to delay that. So I'm expecting castles. Yeah, I mean, queen h4 would also be possible, although you have to calculate whether this is going to be all right for white. Bishop g4. Now, of course, f3, bishop takes g3 would be, you know, good for white. But I don't know whether you can go queen d5. And cover it that way, and then just sort of claim that you're going to be the exchange up. Yeah, always hard to assess these positions, but I do have the feeling that if white's, you know, if black isn't mating, then probably this is just quite pleasant for white, because I mean, normally with these exchange, when you got compensation for the exchange, normally, you know, you sort of say, well, I've got to have a good compensation in terms of my structure. You know, that's important. And if I don't have that, then, you know, long term it's going to be hard, because the material will tell. But, you know, I mean, that's not a hard and fast rule, but that's generally how I tend to think about it. If I'm just trying to judge something that I'm not sure about. I mean, black's got tricks like, you know, bishop d7 to come round to c6, but then you've got moves like queen g2, you know, solid moves like that, and I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe it's going to be, might be compensation, you know, might be some decent compensation. I'm just not completely sure. So, and queen a5 does look quite sensible. because I think you really do seem to be threatening to take on a2, and if I defend a2, then I'm taking on d5. All right, let's have a little look at to see what has happened. There have been a few more moves. b6, b6. Good Lord. b6. What is that move? Just curious. It was looking at bishop b6, queen a5, a4, and then it didn't want to take on d5. Interesting. And Stoofvlees was looking at b6 and bishop b7. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. That's really passive. That really is passive. Oh. Yeah. I mean, you know, Allie was saying, so bishop b6, queen a5, saying a4 there. But okay, I mean, I take on d5. What exactly are you going to do here? I mean, c takes d5, rook c8 does not look... I mean, that barely looks like an advantage to me, really. I don't think it's very much. I mean, maybe queen d5 then? Takes and takes. You know, you could claim that because you're... what you're saying is that you've got the open C file. Well, that's going to cause some problems. But I don't know. I mean, you know, what you're thinking, of course, is, you know, I could take, and if bishop a7, rook c3. If you go rook b1, I go rook d3. You know, and I pick up a pawn. So, kind of strange, really. Let's have a look. What did we'll just have a quick look at some evaluations. Let's start engine 1. No, it's not working anymore, obviously. So start Leela. Let's have a look at Leela. This Leela's running on an RTX 3080, by the way. So it's a decent, yeah, it's decent hardware. So we'll have a look. So a4, h5. Yeah, black's not taking on d5 there, really. But let's have a look then. a4, bishop takes d5. Yeah, I mean, Leela wants queen d5, takes, and yeah, we're getting this line, rook ec8. f4 is Leela's move. Bishop c3, possible. I don't know, really. You know, I don't feel that this should really be. This is definitely a bit better for white, you know, because you've got this this weak pawn on d6 and also the weak pawn on a7. So, you know, I mean, it is all a little bit weak, but still, it's not so bad. Okay, let's just close that one, and I'll just see what Stockfish thinks about it. Not the latest dev, I'm afraid. This is from 20th of June, and so I'm missing the Snicolet Fortress patch. But okay, we'll see what Stockfish says about it. Yeah, I mean, he thinks this is a little bit better for white, but not enormous. But let's just put it here, and we'll see what Stockfish wants. Okay, so Stockfish wants b4. A move I sort of rejected, really. So let's have a look. So show me Stockfish. So I've got, how many cores have I got for this? I think I've got 12 cores. 12 i9 cores on this, so it's a decent Stockfish. It's not TCEC standard, of course. Well, I want to go queen a2, and you are claiming. Are you really claiming that this is just good for white? Rook e1. My goodness me. I mean, intuitively, I'm just assuming that that this is just this should be okay for black, because two bishops, two pawns. I suppose the key point is always with these things, how solid are you? And it must be said that the black structure is not solid. I mean, pawns. A7 is a bit vulnerable. D6 definitely. Bishop on E5 is a bit exposed, but still, I would really have thought that this would be, in general, a clear way just to get a good sort of fortress, really. If to use a TCEC term, Stockfish not at all impressed. Let me just close that and then just go back to Leela and then get Leela to have a look at this. Oh, good lord! Sorry, I've not quite used to skid with these things. Or, I mean, I've used it for quite a few years. It's not my main database program, but I've used it for quite a few years. But it's it's nice, but it's a little bit odd at times. But for obviously for a free database program, you can't complain. So. Yeah, I mean, Leela's thinking that this is, a good advantage for white, but be interesting. I mean, I might try and run some engine matches from this at long time controls just to see what the feeling is. But Stockfish very, very positive, and that makes you worried, really. I suppose that's the thing. Okay, and then what Stockfish really wanted. Was b4, and he was expecting queen d8 and then a4, which is a good move, stopping undermining b5. And Stockfish thought that white had really improved its position here significantly. I mean, I always wonder. You always wonder with these things: am I improving my position, or am I just making it weaker? The structure with like this is in principle a very strong structure. When you go b4, it feels riskier, but if Stockfish is confident of holding it, then then probably you shouldn't argue too much. Let's go back to the game and have a look. So knight takes d5. Then we've got b6, h3. Was that necessary? I suppose just anticipating some sort of queen h4 later. Bishop b7, castles, rook c8, a4. Well, I mean, this is a very pleasant position for white. Not easy to make progress, in all fairness. But you've got this knight on d5. This queenside structure is very, very solid here. You've got a number of moves with white that you can just consolidate nicely. I mean, black's not going to get in b5 the b5 break, and anything like f5 and g5 is really asking for it. So, and also, not always easy for black to increase the activity of its position. I mean, if you try and play rook e6 and rook e8, then knight c7 could always be dangerous. So, I mean, if I was white somehow, I'd be trying to work out, really how to exchange off that dark squared bishop, maybe, and or maybe play f4. But you've got to be very careful with f4, but that might be a long-term thing. I mean, certainly, I think if I'm looking for, let's put this one main variation, and then go back here. So bishop takes d5, a surprising decision, but b6. And then what we were doing, h3, bishop b7, castles, rook c8, a4, and queen h4. I mean, I'd be very tempted to play a move like queen d3, and then actually just try and play a rook to d2. I like d2 for a rook. It's I mean, let's just I'll just play just a couple of odd moves. I quite like d2 for the rook. It covers e2, which is quite nice. It also covers f2 as well. Certainly makes f4, more attractive if I'm covering the E2 square. Yeah, it feels generally solid, and also what I get, I get the possibility of moving my my rook from D2 to A2 and supporting A5 as well. Which I can't do with the rook on D1 because the bishop on E5 is covering that. So that feels like something quite nice and flexible, really. And I am really struggling to find a good plan for black. I think the point is as well that if you exchange off all the minor pieces, if you're able to do that, then well, you're still left with a weak D6 pawn, and white's got breaks like A5 or whatever. It's still quite tricky, really. So yeah, I don't know. I think probably I'd probably start with rook C2 if I was white. Just cover the second rank like that. It also helps, if there's ever any attempted sacrifice on the king's side. And then afterwards move the rook to D2, or even move it to A2, and sort of look around at playing A5 there. I think that would be, a very good idea. So Queen D3, Rook C2, and then either Rook A2 or Rook D2 would be my my favourite sort of regrouping in this position. Yeah, and then we have to see what Black would do. So let's see what Allie can do. Queen F3. No. Okay. Queen F3. Possible. Yeah, possible. Actually, what Stoofvlees is looking for actually is quite a different plan. Well, it wasn't its PV. Ah, yeah, of course. So what Stoofvlees is looking for is to support the knight on D5 with a rook, to be able to recapture on D5 always with a piece, and then to play Queen G4 just to eject the the black queen. So I think what we're going to be looking at here is let me get the right board up. Queen F3, new main line. Black will go somewhere. I don't know whether you need to be concerned about a knight F6 check and taking on here. Maybe you do. Maybe you need to go bishop A8 or something like that. I don't know. Maybe. And then, yeah, Stoofvlees is looking for something like rook FD1. And then afterwards, he wants to play the queen to G4. And just either drive the queen back or, swap off, or, just swap off the queens. And, yeah, that's not bad. I mean, one of the typical AlphaZero mannerisms that you noticed was, it really was very heavy on exchanging off the opponent's active pieces, leaving with passive. And, if you're thinking about that, then the queen on H4 is definitely one of the active pieces. The only reason I wonder about it slightly is that, there are just moves like H5, for example, which stop this queen G4 idea. And I'm sort of wondering, is white really, gaining with the queen on F3? I don't know. It's just, you just sort of feel somehow you're just setting it up to be in an irritating pin. I mean, it must be said, that even in a position like this, you're not going to move this knight because this bishop is raking down this diagonal. So you really wouldn't want to move this knight anyway. So, putting it in an extra pin is maybe no big deal. Feels a bit weird. Feels a bit odd always to self-pin your pieces. But yeah, I mean, it might well work out. So, okay, rook B8 was played there, and then rook D1. So I think if nothing else happens, then I think Stoofvlees is going to be playing Queen G4. Well, yeah, I mean, Stoofvlees is actually expecting... well, Allie's got Queen G4 in its PV now, and it doesn't seem to be too upset about allowing that. Yeah, I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure what's whether it's good or bad to allow the exchange of queens. On the one hand, yeah, black doesn't have any counterplay whatsoever. On the other hand, yeah, I don't know. I mean, sort of feel that the queen on on h4, it looks dangerous, but is it really active? Whereas the white queen's always a nice bit of glue in the position. Can be on d3, and white goes a5, and the queen's just keeping control of everything there. I don't know whether it's going to be harder to break through on the queen side, because you've just got less space or you've got more space to defend with the rest of your minor pieces. I'm not 100% sure about that one, but we will see. So Allie has played rook e6, and now Stoofvlees was looking at rook d3 and rook d1, which is quite normal. Again, rook d3. I don't know. Rook d3. I would have done it quite differently, if I'd been white. I would have put a queen on d3. I would probably have kept my king's rook on f1 to defend my king's side, and tried to play with a rook on d2 to a2, maybe to try and break things open on the queen side. That would have been my initial plan. So this is quite different. I mean, rook d3, rook d1. Yeah, I mean, it's fine. I mean, it's super solid. You're not going to lose at all. But I'm just wondering whether it's whether you're really getting the pieces, where they need to be in order to make something happen in the future. Doesn't look very flexible, that rook on d3. I'm wondering, where else is it going to go? That's the thing. So I mean, let's have this way feels a little bit like cheating, but well, we're watching engines, and engines are our friends. So let's have a look to see what Leela would have done in the slightly earlier position. Queen h4. Well, Leela wants to go. Well, I was going to say, look at what Leela thinks, but Leela actually wants to maneuver its rook round to d3 and play the queen to d2. That does feel like a very reasonable idea as well. So it's looking at going rook c2. Actually, come to think of it, can I cancel? Can I sort of add a variation? Can I do that? Add variation. There we are. So then hopefully we should have add variation. I don't see it. But I'm not quite sure whether add all variations. There we are. But where to? That is always the question. It's saying here, but is it really saying queen d3? Oh, it's saying queen d3 now and rook d1. Okay, so it's changed its mind. I mean, rook c2 to d2 was one idea, and then d3, queen d2, get stuff organised that way. Not bad. It's now looking at, well, I would say my plan. Well, I mean, if you're saying it, putting the rook on d2 like that, that's essentially the plan that I was suggesting there. So, yeah. It's giving it 0.33, which is in a middle game position. It's a slight advantage, definitely slight, but nothing amazingly serious, It's and just out of interest, what is Stockfish saying about this position? What does Stockfish want to do? Always interesting. Yeah, rook c2 is also one of its moves. It's more optimistic, as always. Rook c2 and then f4 and then a rook on d2. Yeah, not bad. Wow. Actually, this one was quite an aggressive little idea. Just to go rook c2 and then just to push f4 to f5. Quite like that. Now looking at queen d2, which, yeah, wouldn't have been my my initial choice, but yeah. I mean, I think, well, Stockfish's evaluation is quite good, but I mean, in general, none of them are hyper excited, put it that way. Yeah, again, queen d3, rook c d1 is again what Stockfish is looking at, which was again more or less the plan that I was suggesting. That's not to claim genius or anything. It's not it's quite a normal plan really, but it does look quite sensible there. So actually, just show engine info. Oh, that's very handy. Yeah, it's not not TCEC speeds, but well, it's 12 cores of i9, so you know, it's decent. You know, it's a decent speed, but it's not obviously. You have to bow to the TCEC hardware. So let's have a look. Rook d3 from Stoofvlees. Probably a few more moves played. Knight d5, queen d1. I mean, actually, in all fairness, if you're looking at this plan, then you know, Leela had the idea of going rook to c2, rook to c2 to d2 to d3, and well, actually, what Stoofvlees had done is go queen f3, rook to d1 to d3, and then queen d1. So presumably, what he's going for here is simply to go queen d2 and rook c d1, and organize itself like that. Just have a quick check. Well, that's interesting. Both bishop takes d5 now. So what I'm guessing is that if we go bishop takes d5, we'll do queen f3, rook a8. What did rook e6 happen, didn't it? Oh, sorry, it was queen f3 and rook b8, I think. Rook d1, rook e6, rook d3, h5, queen d1, bishop d5. Now, I would imagine that if rook d5, then the aim really is to go bishop f4 here. And after takes, black's going to claim that that there's compensation. It probably is true, this one, because your pieces are a little bit awkward here. So, you know, if you play something like rook c2, then there's rook e8. It's really dangerous coming into e1. And, well, this queen's annoying hitting the rook on c1. And, yeah, if you go g3, I don't know, maybe just go queen f6. You've got threats of h4, then rook e8. It's probably not so bad for you. So this is why you're taking on d5 with the pawn, which I think has actually happened. Indeed. So okay, well, in principle, that is a sort of a victory for black. You know, because the d5 square, you really want to get a pawn put on there, so that's pretty good. I suppose the only thing is slight awkwardness and loss of tempi for black. I mean, after rook e8, well, I guess, you know, certainly a move like rook c4 feels, you know, very tempting, followed by queen c2. You know, that does feel quite natural. What is Allie looking at? Allie's looking at rook e8, rook c6, which is also quite good, you know, threatening queen c1 or queen c2 lining up, and you've got a firm grip of the c file there. Yeah, I mean, that's again pleasant position for white. In principle, one of those things that you sort of feel is more or less unlosable for white. Never say never if it's a human player, but yeah, I mean, that's basically what you feel about it. So quite pleasant. Although, you know, I would sort of feel that having taken on d5 with a pawn is you know, a slight concession for white. But, you know, a grip on the light squares, black queenside pawn's still weak. You know, you've got some stuff to play with there. But I think in principle, you know, black should still be holding, because it's all concentrated on one side, the counterplay. It's not really much on the king side for white, I don't think. And well, I think there's enough squares, you know, around there for black to cause some irritation. But you know, pleasant position for Stoofvlees certainly, and 0.57 is decent evaluation. 0.38 for Allie. You know, Allie can get quite excited sometimes, so that's maybe slightly, you know, a little bit depressed, you could say, but nothing too terrible. All right, well, I think I'm going to leave the stream there. I think this is going to be a long one, so I'll leave the diehards to it. But I mean, let's just have a look just before we leave at the standings. So or rather have a look at what we've got to come, first of all. So Scorpio Lilo. Leela is coming next. Ethereal Komodo, important one for Ethereal. See whether it can make some use of its whites now, because it's had a few really hard blacks. Igel against Stockfish, interesting. See whether Igel can make something. Yeah, AllieStein Stockfish, actually quite a crucial little run for Stockfish here. A couple of draws, and I think you're getting just way ahead of the competition. And Igel's got a couple of white games against Stockfish, Komodo, Dragon, so you'd expect to get at least a couple of half points, and maybe something more. And then Ethereal Leela Zero, again, very important game for Ethereal, to try and make the most of its whites in a superior opening. So very exciting. This it's still quite a few games to go. 42 games in the end to play for all the engines, and we've played 20 so far. So heading up to halfway there. I think it's pretty clear that Stockfish is going to qualify for the SuperFinal. I can't see very much happening that could alter that. It does look very, very strong. And then, of the other engines, I think probably Leela has been the most convincing, probably, of the rest. Komodo and Stoofvlees doing very, very well there, and this game's, I guess is important for Stoofvlees' SuperFinal credentials. A draw against Allie with white would be a little bit annoying, I think. From that position as well, it should be quite a nice opening, I think. So that would be quite important, and I think either Komodo or Leela are really the favourites to fight out that second spot. But Stoofvlees really capable of getting a good run there. And then it looks like Allie is going to be in no man's land, basically. Free from relegation worries, but but not at all challenging the top four. It's a shame for the Allie engine, which was really, really strong. I thought end of season 18 it was really, really impressive, but somehow it just seems to have stalled there. But I think it's one guy, really doing most of it on his own, really. So it's again, these sort of projects like that with that can happen, of course. The Leela and the Stockfish projects, they have many more contributors, so if somebody's gets tired or wants to stop for a while, then there's other people to take over, and that's what makes obviously open source so incredibly powerful. And then you've got the three fighters for the relegation spots: Igel, Scorpio, and Ethereal. I'm not sure. In some ways, I feel that Ethereal has had probably the hardest losses. But it is it's a strong engine. It's quite capable of with a good white position of scoring points. And that's very, very very, very important. I think especially with these sort of unbalanced openings. I think all of these engines are going to lose a lot with black, but it's really making use of your whites. So I don't think, although Ethereal's a little bit just been lagging a bit all the time, not clear at all. It's going to go to the wire, I think. And then Scorpio or Igel, I think Scorpio probably looks the strongest of the three, I think. But it's really close, so it's going to be a nail biter, that one. So and you don't really want any of the engines to go down, but two have to. So we're going to see how it is. But it's good. It's good that Ethereal has gone commercial, so the NUE version is now paying to buy. So you hope that that will also help the developer to keep on putting more and more work into that, because it's really lovely to have a very good variety of strong engines with everyone with their own approach, and creating engines that all play slightly differently. I think you look at all the engines in this league, and I don't think that you could really say that anyone's play resembles each other. So that's pretty impressive, really, and pretty good. So let's just go back to the position as it is. A5 has happened and B5. So Queen e4, Allie trying to create a little bit of confusion there. I think this is going to be a draw. I think I'm going to lose my troll bits here, I'm afraid. So yeah, you know, it's that's going to be yeah. I would be surprised if Stoofvlees rather managed to win this from here. But yeah, we'll see. Strange things can happen, of course. So everyone, thanks very much for watching the stream. Hope you enjoyed it, and yeah, I'm going to try and do a few more. At the moment, I'm just you know, I'm trying out some new streaming software, so I'm just trying to get to grips with it, and you know, and play around with it, and click in the right windows and everything. So you know, I hope this is you know, a pleasant way to watch chess, and yeah, gonna look at hopefully look at a lot of interesting games together later. Thanks for watching.